Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast on qualitative interviewing. It's getting started and finishing. My name is Dr. Michael Garber, Professor of Marketing, CMU. Fire up chips, let's go. All right, so we've talked about questions and how to get or how to do the questions, if you will, of conducting interviews or focus groups. And there are basically three stages that I want to kind of talk about. We have the introduction, which is getting us started, the focus of today. Then we have the main body, and the main body is about 98% of the interview or the focus group, right? That's where a lot of the probing goes, and that's where a lot of the main questions, context and grand tour, all those different types of questions are going to take place in that main body. And then we got the closing. This podcast is going to be quick. It's going to be to the point. It's going to talk about how to do the introduction, how do we get started off on the right foot, because that's important, and then closing it. What do we do at the close to kind of close it right and close it in a way that we need to do? So let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about the introduction. So in this introduction, and probably the introduction is a heck of a lot more important than the close. They're both important, but this is we got to get started in the right foot. And the first one is the right energy. We've got to have the right energy. And think about it, right? You walk into a class, your first class, and the teacher, you can just tell they don't want to be there. They're depressed. They got no energy. They don't care. You sense that right away. You walk into a different classroom, the teacher's excited to be there. The teacher's all fired up to be. Which classroom do you want to be in, right? And so the same thing when you're doing an interview. If you're upbeat, they're going to be upbeat. If you're going to have fun, they're going to have fun. If you care, they're going to care. It's one of those things, this mirroring thing. We got to get the right energy. So I need you to be fun. I need you to be personable, and I need you to be kind of like comforting to them, right? And you're going to have to look interested in everything they say. Oh, it's amazing. There's that energy that's probably the most important one right there. We got to thank them for their participation, no doubt about it. They're giving us an hour of their time. Thank you. Vague purpose. This is really important. We've got to give an extremely vague purpose. And my purpose, if I'm doing a project and it's about volunteering with CMU students, I'm going to say something about, hey, we're just after your ideas and your opinion. Whatever you think's important is in what we want to talk about. How much more vague can that be? Seriously? That's how vague you want it? That's how vague I want it, right? What if somebody pushes you in the beginning? Well, no, really, what is this about? Well, it's about getting your ideas and your opinions, just like I said. Repeat it. Most people let you go at that point, by the way. But the point is, be super vague, right? When I do things on, like when I did a focus group on volunteering, I didn't even tell them it was about volunteering, let alone specifics about volunteering. You're going to want to get specific, stay vague. I tell them that they're the expert, right? So I'm a PhD and I'm interviewing people and I have to let them know, but I don't know anything about this. In fact, I play dumb. I'm really good at that, by the way. But I play dumb and say, you're the expert. I have no idea about this topic. Would you please teach me? And people, I'll be happy to help this person out, all right? I always tell them that a good interview is when you do a lot of the talking. If you feel like you're blabbing on and on and on, that's a great interview. And particularly you need to do this with guys, because in our culture, we're kind of taught from an early age, don't go on and on. Give them a short, to-the-point answer. So particularly with guys, tell them it's good to do a lot of talking, lots of stories, lots of details. Confidentiality, I'm not going to share this with anybody, right? And if I do use, findings in a paper or in a report, nobody will know who said anything. You have to free people up. That's always my biggest thing when I go into these interviews is like, I don't want my name attached to anything. If I don't feel it's confidential, by the way. If I don't trust them, I don't say anything. And then finally, I always like to tape these interviews because the second time you listen to it, you're going to pick up a whole bunch of things that you missed. And the third time you listen to that tape, it's unbelievable. But we have to get there okay. In fact, I get it on tape, them saying, are you okay with taping? Because it is against the law to tape conversations without their knowledge. All right, so now we get to, and by the way, can't tell how important that is. And I write these things out. I think of these things when I'm doing a focus group or an interview, because if we don't get it started right here, it goes nowhere. All right, now it's in the closing. So now we've done the introduction, then we've asked context questions, we've asked grand tour, we've gone, it's like we're an hour into this thing, and you sense it's time to close. So the first thing I do is just thank them again, right? They've given an hour, they've given good answers. Thank you. The second thing is I always ask them, anything I forgot to ask you that I should have asked you about? And 95% of the time, if you do a good job, they're going to say, no, you asked every question. It was unbelievable. I didn't even know I was thinking about those things. And that's how you know you do a really good job. There'll be 5% of the time that the person will say, you didn't ask about this. And at that point, get them talking. And some of the best interviews and focus groups I've ever done have came from asking that last, it's a Hail Mary pass, right? What did I forget? Ask it. And then, this is another one too. Can I call you in the future if I have a follow-up question? 99% of the time, I never contacted people. But there will always be that one time where they say something and you don't ask a probing question and you're kind of at the end of the project and you're like, I got to know which way this goes. And it's perfect. If you've done this, then following up with them is really easy. If you haven't done this, not as easy. Okay? All right. Oh, hey, that's my daughter. What? You want me to close this podcast so we can go work on your balance beam routine? Deal. All right, my friends. Hey, we've talked about introduction. Got to get started off on the right foot. We've talked about how to close these things. I'll see you in the next exciting episode of Marketing 450.